A lot of people aren't aware of this, but one of the best ways you can increase your income as a service business provider is to actually find ways in which you can charge your customers less, but ultimately increase the amount you're earning per unit of your time. For those of you that don't know, my name's Matt Robinson. I've been a personal trainer since 2011, and I've been coaching other fitness business owners to grow their businesses for over a decade now. And I've had to implement this strategy in my business and in other businesses many times before in lots of different ways. And rather than give you the specifics of how I've done this today, what I want to share with you instead is how I think about this problem and how I've used it to solve a lot of different problems in different fitness businesses that you could then apply to any service-based business and reap the rewards. And some of what we're going to cover in this short video today might be a bit counterintuitive because there is a big narrative out there at the moment regarding charging high ticket, increasing prices, charging more, pushing yourself, positioning yourself as a premium service. And that's not incorrect. What I'm hoping you can learn from this today is that if you understand the overriding principles, there are a lot of different ways you can set up your business or different services within your business to be priced at different levels that help you and your customers or clients reach their ideal outcome. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with high ticket. It can fit into this sort of model, but I want to teach you this model in a way that allows you to think about how you might apply it in different ways. Where might you use things that are higher priced? Where might you reduce the price of things, but still use that as an opportunity to earn more money? At the moment, it's difficult to answer that question within your business if you don't understand the thinking behind it. And I would much sooner share with you how I think about these things as opposed to just saying, do this or don't do this or try that instead. So without further ado, let's dive into it. I come from a background of personal training and running fitness businesses. So that's the majority of the examples that I will use to share this today. But as I mentioned a moment ago, you can apply this to most service-based businesses. You'll just have to take the principles and switch them around to suit your circumstance. So the biggest problem that service providers and service businesses face is that they are essentially dealing in units of time. We are told not to sell time for money and don't give an hourly rate and things like that. But ultimately, regardless of how you sell your product or service, you are exchanging time for money in one way or another. And if anyone wants to tell you differently than that, they are just lying. Unless you are selling some sort of digitized product or something that gets delivered without you being there, if you've got any form of exchange that happens live with another person, regardless of whether it's in person, online, doesn't matter where it is, there is still some units of exchange in regard for time. Okay, so for this example, we're going to assume that a person or a business has got 8 units of time that they are able to exchange on a daily basis. And you might be able to think of this in terms of like, these could be 1 hour slots or whatever it is that you tend to work in within your business. So we're going to use 8 slots as the example. And at this moment, this business that we're looking at here is exchanging these 8 slots with 8 different people. So they're essentially able to service 8 customers a day across 8 units of time. In my world of personal training, that would usually be an hour, 50 minutes, something like that. But apply that same principle to whatever world you're working in. So if we've got 8 units of time and we're servicing one person, one customer in every unit of time, we've got a maximum of 8 people that we can work with across a day, or a maximum of 40 across a week, potentially, if we're going to do that 5 days a week. So we've got a slight limitation there in terms of units of time that we can exchange. So really, the only way that we can earn more in this model is to increase what we charge per unit of time if we don't want to change anything else. If we still want to work with people one-to-one, if we still want to give them that same amount of time, then we would just have to constantly increase what we charge for our time or for that unit. And then we would gradually earn more money across those units of time and across the week. So that's one way that you can grow your income without really changing too much other than price. But what we want to look at today is how could you potentially earn more income and in fact charge your customers and clients less. And the reason that I think this is a great time to bring up this subject is recently in coaching sessions that I'm doing with business owners, there is the same recurring conversation going on in their head and their customers' heads, where we're hearing things like inflation and cost of living crisis and all these things. And even if you're not really feeling the effects of that yet, either as the owner of the business or even your clients aren't feeling that yet because they're quite well off or anything like that, it's still in their mind. It's still there at some point, niggling away at them. And it's not to say that they won't be affected at some point. So it might make sense to have a solution that could help people overcome that problem and still work with you and still grow your business at the same time. It's a win-win for everybody. So one way we can look at solving this problem and look at thinking about this is we can actually reduce the size of the unit of time. So assuming that you've got that 8 hours or whatever it is in the day, and you currently serve those people by giving them 1 unit of time each, what about if you were to reduce the unit of time and then charge your time in a way that allows you to charge slightly more than half you were charging before per unit, so that for the full unit, you are now earning more? So let me explain that a little bit further. So now rather than the 8 units of time, we've split this down so that they're each half the size. So for argument's sake, let's say these are now half an hour each, which would then allow us to service double the amount of clients. We could now service 16 clients in the same amount of time. But let's say, for example, you were charging £50 previously for that 1 unit of time. What you would do here in this example is, rather than charging £50 for that 1 unit of time, you would now charge £30. So what would happen is you would now be getting 16 lots of 30 as opposed to 8 lots of 50. So you would be earning more across those units of time and per total unit of time than you were doing previously. But your customers and clients are able to access your service at a lower price. And again, going back to my world, just to give you some examples that then maybe you can pull from and use yourself, one of the easiest ways we can do this with personal training is that, let's say, for example, ordinarily an hour's session includes like a 10-minute warm-up, 40 minutes of training, and then a 10-minute cool down or something like that. What we can do instead is we can get our clients to do their own warm-up, do half an hour of intense training with us, so that's the unit of time that they're spending with us, and then they're doing their own 10-15 minute cool down again at the end. So their total session might still be close to an hour, but they're only spending half an hour of that with us during the bit where they really need our help and our input. So we're just saying to our clients, look, we're going to change this around a little bit. Price is going to drop to this. You're going to do your own warm up and cool down. I'll have planned that for you. It'll be the same as what we would have done if we were together. But now we're going to do the chunk of the session, just exercise focused. I'm going to help you with that. And again, in your business, there might be a way in which you can apply that same methodology. It might be that there's some sort of preparation or after the main event thing that happens that you can empower your client or your customers to do by themselves. With your guidance, you've given them the plan for that part. You're just going to take care of the bit in the middle, which is the bit where they really need your input. So that's one way we can look at solving that problem when we look at it based on units of time. Another option for looking at this problem is to offer the units of time in the same way so that it's still your 8 blocks of time. But what you might do differently is change the number of people you can service within that block of time. So in this example here, I've kept the same 8 blocks, but we're now going to look at servicing 4 people per block. You could even just do this as 2 people or 3 people. If you did it as 2 people, it'd be similar to that previous example where you're essentially doubling the amount of people you can work with per unit of time. But one of the reasons I like this approach, and this is the one that I applied to my business within my personal training model, is that it allows you to charge your services at a much lower price, but really massively increase what you earn per hour. So we can now work with 32 people across that same amount of time units, charge them a relatively small fee compared to what we used to charge, but earn far more. So I'll give you my personal example of how I did this within my personal training business, and I still use this within my business today and encourage others to do the same. I used to charge £50 for 1 unit of time. So a 1 hour session, one-to-one, was £50. Then I switched over to more of a semi-private model or small group model where I would train up to 4 people within that same hour slot. Most of my groups ended up being 3 to 4 people. That's where I got it to. But now, rather than charging £50 per person, I was charging 25. So if I had a group of 3 people, I was now earning £75 for that hour instead of 50. So I was earning 50% more than before. But when I maximized the group and got 4 people in the group, I was now earning £100 an hour and thus doubling what I used to earn for that same unit of time. For my clients, what it meant is that they were essentially able to train with me twice as often for the same price as what they were paying previously. So they could either choose to save some money or double the amount of exposure they get to me by using this format. So this again just gives us a different way of looking at how you can grow your income from your business, but at the same time reduce what your clients pay you or give them more for their money, essentially. Which again, going back to the timing of this video, when we look at inflation, cost of living crisis, all these types of things, although your clients might not be directly impacted it right at this time, it is something that gives them that feeling of more value for money and something that helps them feel like you're really looking after them. So to quickly summarize that for you, if we look at how you can charge less but earn more, the couple of ways we looked at it there, and there are more, but just to keep things nice and simple, you can either decrease the length of the time unit that you're exchanging. You could drop from 60 minutes to 45 or to 30. You can find ways to make that suit your business and suit your offering without impacting your clients and customers too much. Or you can increase the amount of people per unit that you are able to service by slightly changing that model or the way that you set things up. Ultimately, this will allow you to charge each customer or client a little bit less, but actually take home more and generate more revenue for your business for the same amount of units of time that you would have given away previously. So I'm a fitness business guy. We do this in fitness all the time. Look at things like classes and groups. That's why these have really taken off, because we can charge each client far less than they would pay for personal training services. But if we can now service 4 people at a time, or 10 people at a time, or 20 people at a time, we are earning far more for the hour. Think about if you were to go and run a class online, if you were going to do a big class via Zoom where 100 people can join and it's only costing them £5 or £10 each. Well, now your hourly rate has gone up ginormously, okay? Every option has its own pros and cons. You've got to find the ones that fit you. And this is why I didn't want to just say, do this, do that. And it's why I mentioned the high ticket stuff right at the start. For some of you, working with fewer clients and charging more is going to be the best way to do things, because it will suit your personality, it will suit your delivery style, and it will suit what your clients need. But for some people out there that don't want to go down the route of charging super premium, you might want to consider some of these things. This is the route that I went down, and I found it adapted to my business really well. So if you want more useful business advice, and specifically fitness business advice like this, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'm going to be doing more of this on the whiteboard as we move forwards. And if you want to connect with me more closely, head over to the link in the description below. That'll take you over to my Instagram account. You can follow me there. I've got daily advice that goes out, and you can drop me any questions.